to my podcast, My Musik Leben. I have studied classical singing, and nowadays I sing lots of contemporary and experimental music. I do performance, I do music theater. And if you would like to know more about me, please look at my website, www.ireneka. I put this into the show notes for you. And if you would like to know more about me or what's coming up for me, please subscribe to my monthly newsletter. In this podcast, I talk about themes all around contemporary music and whatever is related to this. I share with you behind the scenes, the insider knowledge, and I really want to bring you the human beings out of this great new music world closer. I'm cooperating with the NMZ. In today's episode, I talk with the composer and artistic director of the Rainy Days Festival in Luxembourg, Catherine Kontz. And I'm so excited about this because, as I mentioned in our previous talks, and there are already two, there is one interview with Catherine where we talk about her work mainly as a composer. And I already had the honor that I was cooperating with Rainy Days Luxembourg Festival already last year. I did 4 interviews for them, and I also interviewed Catherine Kontz. And last year we talked a lot about this great festival this Philharmonie is doing and how she places it in the city, how she also uses some places that are not in the Philharmonie, and whatever she does to get an audience there, and also how she curates. So very important topics, but you will find them in the episode from last year. So if you haven't listened to it, I recommend to listen to both of these episodes. Because in this episode you're going to listen today, we're also going to talk about Rainy Days in 2025. But I also thought I want to know different things from Catherine, that we don't repeat ourselves. So you will get to know even more aspects about this wonderful woman who is doing such great things for the contemporary music scene. And she's so devoted. She has such a warm heart, and it's always a joy to talk and work with Catherine. And the festival really also likes, to have an audience, and they have very good tickets. There are day passes and festival passes to a very fair price to make it affordable and also possible for people to go to this place, to this. Also, the Philharmonic in Luxembourg has a great architecture and all halls are amazing. So you will find this information also in the show notes. So if you're interested to come this year, go to the website, check out the program, and also go and see about the ticketing. And we would love to see you there this year in 2025. So now let's dive into this interview with Catherine Kontz about, the festival 2025. And I'm also thanking the Philharmonie that I have the honor to cooperate with them again. We're going to have again a few interviews from people, from artists who perform at Rainy Days Festival. And I'm so excited about that. And so now let's get into the interview with Catherine. Hello and good morning, Catherine Kontz. Catherine Kontz, who is right now actually in Luxembourg. And I welcome you today into my podcast, My Musik Leben.
Hello, Irene. I'm happy to be here.
And I have the pleasure, and not many people can make that you are in my podcast actually the 3rd time.
Wow. Is it? Yes, it is.
I'm also mentioning this because I want to talk about other things than we have talked before. But if listeners are curious to know more about you, maybe more about you as a composer or how this whole curating things started, then they should listen to the previous episodes. And right now, I also would like to know from you, because I thought about this a lot lately. How was your transition from university into the real working life as a composer? And were there surprises or challenges, or how would you describe this when you look back?
Yes, that's an interesting one. It's a long time ago. um, I think it was very gradual for me, actually, because well, I came to music via economics, as I have previously said. And then I studied for the undergraduate and the master's. And so then there was the question, what to do. And by then I was teaching a lot of private piano lessons, and I had like my little business going, but I wanted to get a foot into the composing world, and it's not so easy as a young composer. So doing a PhD at that moment felt like the right way for me to explore more and give myself the space and the time to do this. And it was possible to do that at Goldsmith then. So I continued for a few years researching, and I got into all this Deleuze and Kabuki, and it kind of set me up for the next step, basically. But while I was also teaching and doing all these other things, so it was kind of a slow entrance into the professional world in some way. And then when the PhD finished, I was teaching even more piano, a little bit of composing, and then I got like here and there, a tiny commission. And Rodri Davies was the first one to commission me for a paid commission, like not just a friend asking if I can write a piece for them, but someone saying, I have £50. Do you want a piece? Do you want to write a piece? Yeah, so, and then from there on, also because my PhD piece probably was it was quite a substantial undertaking. Let's say it was 70 minutes with 39 musicians and 8 mimes, and it was sort of my Gesamtkunstwerk, where I was directing and I had written the story and everything. So it put me on the map a little bit. And that, together with Rodri playing this harp piece I wrote for him, then Tea Ceremony, because he was touring quite a lot, and he played it here and there. And I think I owe him a lot, actually. He introduced my name here and there. So that then got the ball rolling, but slowly. I was not one of these composers who won competitions, and I had not been at the conservatoire. I was not geared up for this straightforward, traditional composing career. I didn't even think of that, I have to say, in that way. So I think it was quite organic, actually. I just followed my nose.
Yeah, you said great things. Also, this thing that you took time, also with the PhD, to give it to you. And sometimes I think people also tend to rush, or they're very impatient, and that you did that, and how it emerged then, and how important also are connections that, like a person like Rodri Davis, helped you. And this is how it always happens, because they're always people who are kind of ahead in the game, and if you meet them, they can be helpful to us or wherever we stand, and then later on the other way around, because at some point you give back and you will help whatever younger people or people who are whatever emerging wherever they are. And also I find fascinating when you said you did this production where you also did all those things, you had all those hats on. And now I'm not surprised that for one thing, you're curating such a huge festival. And also, I mean, I know some of your productions, or the production you did last year with Rosie, where you also had many hats on, I would assume. And I find those people very fascinating who do more than one thing. Or also the person who I'm collaborating with this year at Rainy Days. I mean, Leah Muir, she's not just composing, she's doing the whole film and the directing, and I'm impressed. But actually, when I think back, just to mention of my transition, and the hardest thing, and I don't know if it's maybe more an interpreter thing, is, and some of my professors already told me, but I didn't believe them. They were like telling us, practice as much as you can while you're studying, because they said you will never have this time again in your whole life once you're really in this business. And I thought, like, how can a musician survive with whatever little practicing? But when I got into my professional life, that's the truth. You have to sometimes work with very little time to get somehow the things done and practice it. And I also read it in the book by the great soprano Renee Fleming. She also, I mean, I'm like, she's singing at the Met and everywhere, and she sometimes doesn't know when to practice because there are so many other things. She gets interviewed, and that was a real shock for me, actually, this transition. And this is why I also came then up with this question, wondering this is for other people. And maybe for some, it's really very smooth. I mean, in one way, it was smooth because I was performing while I was studying and I was performing afterwards. That's not such a big difference. The only thing is, as you said, you get paid and maybe things, whatever, get bigger and more honored or something. But the thing itself stays the same. But how I had to work with my time, that changed a lot.
Yes. Yeah, making time for things is always a challenge, especially if you do many things. And yeah, as you said, I do have many hats. Still, I think it's important to sometimes step back and think what you actually want to do, or like what is important here. And then you make time for that, because everything else is actually not important. So it can wait. Which is how, cooking and ordering at home and stuff, that always falls by the, how do you say that? By the wayside. No, it's an English expression. And it falls away, let's say, very easily for me. Because there's always things that I think are more important than that. And this can wait.
I totally understand you. And if you look back at all your pieces and performances, is there maybe one you want to mention that touched you the most or was very special to you? And can you tell us why, even though I know that probably all were great?
No, there are these performances that are a little bit instrumental in, if you like to say, the career, or like that just go to more places, or they are happening at the right time for something else to happen. Because that's the thing, after you start, it's like one thing leads to the next. And so you always meet new people, and they might want a new piece, and then you meet another person through that. And so I think this piece that I mentioned already, Tea Ceremony, that got the ball rolling a lot. And so it was quite a small piece, because it was a big graphic score, but just for solo harp. But it opened a lot of doors. So I think that one was a special one, and the PhD one was a special one because that was such a big undertaking, and it brought all my ideas of that time all together, and I felt like I needed to show this. It took a lot of effort and willpower to get it done, but it was really magical. I still have very fond memories of this. I found this little space in the Docklands in London, an old converted church, but they had just started being a theatre. And so this was quite at the beginning of their theatre programming. And so the director there, Adam, he somehow trusted me to get this done, and agreed that I could have the church for a week for rehearsals, and then do 4 days of performances, with doing 6 performances. The problem was a bit that there were so many people involved, and I couldn't really pay anyone very much, but because I was still a student and we were all kind of still students, it just about worked on a shoestring. But it would be a very expensive production if it would happen, with everyone getting paid properly. But it brought me in contact with a lot of wonderful people. One of which, for example, is performing this year at the festival at the Rainy Days. E.M. Perry. We met the first time at this MIE. It was called this PhD mime opera, I call it now, but it was like at the time I called it an extraordinary music theater experience. So that's what I wanted it to be. So we met the first time there, and they did the costumes and the scenography for it. And then we worked many times after. They also did the costumes for Neige, which was the opera I had at the Grand Théâtre. And we did some sort of small happenings together where we performed together. Many things. Also my wedding dress, lots of stuff. And
Awesome.
This year, they are at the Rainy Days with a sort of piece work called Pricklings with two musicians. And so Mal, as they call themselves, are wearing a sort of bodysuit on top of their own body, like a costume like they would use in film maybe or theatre. And then the public are encouraged to use little pins like pricks and pin them into the body, prick them. And then the musicians who are with Mal react emotionally to this, that does it hurt or does it not hurt? Because it looks like it hurts, but obviously it's not their own body that is being stung by a needle. But it's a very interesting piece where we see how music can react emotionally to a situation live. And it's so it's quite fun to have them in the festival.
That's awesome. And the other thing I would like to know, if you think back, and sometimes there are pieces or situations that are challenging, or they maybe seem not to go the right way at first, but oftentimes those situations are also the ones we learn a lot, or they still might be a thing that brings us forward in the long run. And is there anything you could mention here, or where you think, oh my God, I learned so much, even though it was hard?
Yeah. With each piece that you compose, you learn more how to write it so that the right result comes out, and it's not just the notes, it's actually knowing the people you work with. So I think I've become quite good over the years now in judging how performers, like what they would enjoy performing actually, and what would be the right thing for them to do. But it's still being my music. So there's these things coming together. And I think there it's, for example, a challenge if you write for orchestra, because you write for a body of sound and also a sort of institution that you are not a part of, and you come from the outside with your fun ideas of what you want to happen with the orchestra and the sound, but then you kind of impose these on the orchestra, and you have to, unless it's very traditional, you have to somehow get them on board. And orchestras are very tricky to get on board usually for contemporary music, because they're not really in it for that. It's quite rare, let's say. And so it can be interesting challenges there. And usually in that situation, the conductor is the instrumental, the conductor and the first violinist. If you get along with these, it's good. It's all fine. And it will work wonderfully. And if the spark does not fly with these, then you have a problem. So there's been some challenges there over the course of my working life, but and some wonderful experiences as well. But there it is really it can be a bit tricky. And it's the only situation where I feel composers have to really stand their ground in a more obvious way. You feel it as a composer. You kind of feel how you have to just stand up for yourself now, because everybody is think they know better than you, actually. Because they don't know what piece is going to be created, and they don't know what you want, and they don't really want to understand it either. And they are all incredibly good at their instrument, of course, and so they think that you've written a little bit badly for it, and what should this be together, and they only see their own part. So it's a whole skill and challenge to then get them on board, and it can then be wonderful if they are, because you can do so much with orchestra. It's brilliant, but it can be I think it's the trickiest situation, because all the other groups or ensembles of new music, they are all in it because they are up for it. They want to do new music. They've chosen it. They want you to write something new. They want to create with you. They want to experiment. So the basis is very different. But the traditional orchestras are more skeptical, and so it's it's interesting.
I think of that, and I believe that whatever good professors will talk with their students about it, this is the most crucial part when the composer meets the interpreters, even, I mean, whether it's an orchestra or it's just a group, because I mean, you hear the piece, whatever, the first time, and you will check maybe with yourself, oh God, is this what I really wanted? Or and then you have to bring across your ideas or your wishes. And I think that's an art by itself, because some are very good to do it in a way that me as an interpreter have fun with it, and a few are not good with it, and then you don't have fun with it. And I also heard that a lot when you work with an orchestra, that you really have to stand your ground. And
yes, and because the time, it's again time that is the precious thing. If you had a lot of time to rehearse, it would be different again, but it's usually done in the shortest time possible. So actually the piece you bring to the orchestra has to work. Otherwise, you have a real problem. And then you can fine tune a little bit. I had a really lovely experience a few months ago with the Orchestre de Chambre de Luxembourg, so a chamber orchestra, and with a lovely conductor. And we had little rehearsal time, really, but just in the break before we started on my piece, he sat next to me and then he sang everything to me. And then he said, well, do you want it like this? Da, 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 da. Or do you want it like that? Da, 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 da. And then I would sing it back. I said, I want it like this. Da, 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 da. And so we went through the whole score like that. And it was really wonderful, because immediately we kind of looked at the musicality of it. And he could take that on board into the first rehearsal. And so it was it was really a really lovely collaboration like that, even though the time was quite short and there was not, they can then play it 2 or 3 times and then that's almost it, then they kind of turn around and ask, do you want anything else different? But there's very little time to change anything really, but it's usually more about shaping it a bit, dynamics. You can do little things, but the bulk of it, the notes, the pitches, all of that, it just has to work because there's no time to change it. And so there, if you get the chance to work over a few months with, that would be ideal, having a rehearsal in March and then you go away and you can work on it some more and then have another rehearsal in June and then play it in July. That would be ideal, but that never happens because that's not how orchestras work or like how programs get rehearsed, and that would just be lovely for the composer, but never mind. In an ideal world, yeah.
Right. And I would like to know from you, is there a talent of yours that most of people don't know and you would like to share with us?
Talent. Oh, let me think. I have some oddities. I don't know if they are talents.
You decide. Just pick one.
Yeah. Well, I have perfect pitch, which some people think is a talent that you can just say which note is which. It's a strange thing because it sometimes inhibits me to actually enjoy music, especially piano music, because it's like a dictation for me. I hear each name of each note and I can't turn it off. And so, yeah, it's sometimes I really enjoy music where I don't have it as much, which are things like with bells or voices sometimes, if they are not so perfect. I lose it, or I don't think of it in the same way, and it's really relaxing to not have it. But especially with piano, because I grew up with the piano and it's always so precise and in tune. I can't turn it off. It can be very useful, of course. So if someone plays something, I can just repeat it. I can remember things very well. So for improvisation, for example, the way I often improvise is that like a minute later, I play something that someone else played a minute before, but exactly the same. And then that sometimes takes other people aback a little bit because they find it freaky, or they think that I've prepared it or something in the audience also. Or it was very structured, someone said. I don't like that about improvisation. It was much too structured. I said, no, it was not structured at all. I just remembered what he played and then I played the same.
It's very, very interesting because I know that having it or not having it both have advantages and disadvantages. I don't have it. I have relative good pitch. I have a good body memory, but I really have to work. And I'm also not a good sight reader, which no one believes me, but that's the truth. I'm just working hard. And there are situations where I'm better because I don't have it. And whatever, when something is losing and some people then cannot relate to this and I don't care. I just follow the whole structure. And one time I had a very funny situation because you're also a perfect pitch person. I was doing a concert with a pianist who also has perfect pitch, and he's an amazing pianist. And there was this piece I had to sing Wild Things very high and then land on a C sharp, the middle C sharp, and be with the piano together. And it was kind of a unison sound, and then it would go on. And we did it a few times. And in this one rehearsal, I was doing my up there, and I landed, and I realized we were not together. I was a little higher or something. And then I looked at him, I'm like, oh, I think in this piece, I should land with your C sharp. I was off. And then he looked at me, he's like, no, you were right. The piano is not tuned correctly.
Oh.
And then I said, okay, but the effect is we are together. So let me do it a few times and then I memorize the C sharp of this piano and I will land with it. But it was so funny. Otherwise, I would always thought, I'm off.
Oh, it's really sweet. Yeah, the human is right. The human is right. The machine is off.
But this time I was. I would not say that I'm always right.
Wonderful.
But this time I was. And the other thing I want to ask from you, and then we also, it might already lead us to the next topic. What is your favorite dish?
Oh, to eat. I like a lot of weird stuff actually, but I don't cook it myself. But if I get the chance to eat it, I eat it. So I love all the cabbages. Like red cabbage and all these different, and sauerkraut and all of that sort of family of vegetables. I love these. And also the Brussels sprouts and I'm probably the only person who likes Brussels sprouts, but I love them. So that's something, but I kind of avoid cooking them because it always smells so terrible, the whole house, and yeah, never mind. But I love them. And then I like some things like sweetbreads, for example. I don't know how you say that in German.
Oh, I
We
think you
say,
say sweet bread too.
okay, Pujol in Luxembourgish, which is quite unusual nowadays, really. But we used to get it every Saturday at my grandmother's house. Because there was always this sort of bouchée à la reine for children, and then the adults would get something else, a steak or whatever. The whole family ate at a very big table. We were like 25 every Saturday, that sort of thing. And we always got these sort of little pastries filled with usually chicken and this sweetbreads, and I loved it. And so it's also like a childhood memory, I guess. But yeah, I like these. But
Wow, how
only,
nice.
if someone else cooks them, yeah.
And do you think the cabbage thing is more because of Luxembourg, or do the British people also like to eat it? Or
Maybe. It's probably a Luxembourgish thing. I'm not a potato person. I can live without these. I can eat them to be polite, and if there's nothing else, I eat potatoes. But I'm more the cabbage person.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, through eating, we can already lead to bodies, and bodies is actually the theme of the third edition you are curating, Rainy Day
Yeah.
Festival, Luxembourg. And yeah, so what's going to happen this year in Luxembourg, and how do you get to this theme, bodies, and what can we expect, or what programs you want to highlight? I know they're all great. I have been to Luxembourg last year for I think 3 days, and
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it, the atmosphere, and yeah, and it's the great halls. You have such a beautiful place, and great artists, and I mean, I like how you curate. I really had fun, and so what's gonna happen this year?
Great. Yes, so it's bodies, and I mean bodies. I thought of it as our human bodies as musicians as well. But yeah, how we experience music, but also how we investigate our bodily functions and how our body works, our mind through music. So there's a lot of scope for shows or pieces that work with conditions, human conditions, or disabilities, or mental health comes a lot into composers' work nowadays anyway, so that there was room for that sort of things. It's also bodies together, like if you have an ensemble, an orchestra, these making music together with all these bodies of humans is also special, and how we communicate. So there was another scope for having big groups, and we will have 100 saxophones, for example, to do a Charino piece in the foyer, which will be a lot of bodies walking slowly and playing, or the orchestra plays again, the Philharmonic Orchestra, or a lot of ensembles are playing. And then there's also the sounding bodies, the space as a body, the instrument, like any instrument is a sounding body, but the human voice in the body as a sounding body. Yeah, it's a very broad subject, again, like the years before, but it can also be very specific. And that's what I quite like about it, because then it gives me a reason to program one thing over another, and everything has a connection in the end in some sort of way to the theme and to bodies. So it's not just a melting pot of whatever interesting piece. It's already enough of a melting pot because every composer has their own way of doing things, their own sounds, their own kind of music. So every performer as well brings something to the table. so there is already a lot of diversity like that. So it's quite nice to have something that unifies a little bit for these intense 4 days. So yeah, so from 20th to 23rd of November, we are at the Philharmonie. And as you said, it's in all the different rooms of like, it's really the whole building that's being played. So we have a few wonderful big events in the Great Hall, in the big hall. The orchestra will play there with a very exciting Bernard Lang violin concerto. Ilan Volkov is conducting. We have a piece by Hilda Dianda, who would have been 100 this year, but who is not with us anymore. But we haven't really encountered her music much before, so it's really nice to bring it into the concert hall now. And then also a piece by Michael Parsons. And Michael Parsons is actually a composer who is sort of in residence, if you like, this year. He is part of 5 different concerts, and he's a British composer of the kind of experimental a way of thinking, is been working with, well, in the 60s, 70s with the group of Cornelius Cardew, Howard Skempton, Christian Wolff, that sort of American and British experimentalists. And so he has done a lot of different sort of pieces in his life. And we can show this whole diversity because we have the orchestra piece, but we also work with the dancers of the Conservatoire to show one of his walking pieces in the foyer, like it's just a visual piece really, with walking and standing and stopping and lines crossing. So there's a lot of rhythm, but no sound really that is intended. So a piece like that. He will play himself with 2 pianos, with Sivan Rees, a concert for his piano music, really. And we will do a scratch orchestra performance of, well, he will lead in the spirit of the scratch orchestra, really, which he founded together with a few composers and artists in London in the 60s. And they have this sort of way of, they just make like it's a sort of happenings kind of event. So they wrote pieces down, ideas, but which could be performed not just by musicians, but also non-musicians. So artists, performers, people who were just happy to also perform, do something together with others. And so here we will then do pieces like that, but with the performers who are anyway in the festival. The Ligeti Quartet are performing one of his quartets as well. So there's a whole variety, which also shows a little bit the variety of events we have at the festival. Which we can show of Michael Parsons, which I'm very pleased about. And then there are things in the sort of black box events, and you will have premiere, Irene. You can talk about that in a little moment, maybe a little bit. I'm very looking forward to that. There will be, it's from things that are quite physical theatre with dances as well. Musiki Island are coming with a piece that is quite theatrical and with dancers. And it's about disabilities that you don't see, that are invisible, like autism or other things like that. Then there are also Percussion de Strasbourg, come with a very physical program where they don't really use percussion instruments like we know them, but they use their own bodies a lot and spray cans. They paint basically graffiti type things, but very precisely. We have judoka who are performing with the Ensemble Multilatéral, a French ensemble, who commissioned this 5 composers to write a piece that integrates the falls of these judokas. So the movements are kind of in the composition. and done live then on stage. And it was done for the Olympic Games in Paris. And now we can show it once more in Luxembourg, which is exciting. So we have to get tatami flooring and, build a dojo or however they call that. And these two judokas are fantastic. I mean, it's a real challenge. They will show all the kata, everything you can do in judo, they will show in that concert. So it's physically a real challenge because usually they don't do that much in a competition or in any practice or whatever. So it's not a piece they can do twice a day. Yeah.
I'm actually so amazed how you find all those great pieces and people. And are you like seeing yourself a lot or travel a lot? Or I mean, you have to have a big overview somehow to know how to get those there. And then I also imagine it must be very challenging to organize everything because particularly if it's not just a concert and they need a few stands. I mean, what you're saying, there's so much more involved. And so you have much more talks to say, okay, we have to get this on the floor and that and that. I mean, it's amazing.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, I'm not alone, I mean, I'm alone with the programming, but with the organization, there is the whole team of the Philharmonie and they are very on the ball. So
Awesome.
I'm very grateful for that, I have to say. So the technical team, all the, every event has like a production manager. It's all kind of taken care. And I have Cécile Bulot. She's like my other side at the Philharmonie. So she kind of holds the ground there because obviously I don't even live in Luxembourg. So I'm not there all the time. I do travel a lot, but not often just for seeing things, just because I don't have time with my own work already. So I get invited everywhere now, which is really lovely, but I can hardly go to any other festivals just because of my own working and time. And then also I have 2 children. I should not forget. Yeah. If I didn't have the family, I would maybe travel a little bit more. But for the time being, I usually go to 1 or 2 a year, but I travel for specific pieces. So for example, the judoka piece, I went specifically to Paris to see this because I was interested in it and I wanted to see what it was. And then I saw it at the Maison du Japon. It was the premiere. And then I thought, yes, we want this at the festival, and then it happens. So yeah, I do get a lot of proposals in my inbox, a huge amount. And so I also want to say that once more, like anyone who is not in the festival this year, it's not because their piece was not good or, of the standard, or it can be for any reason. We cannot have everything in there. I get probably 800 proposals or something to be in the Rainy Days over the course of the year, and it's 750 of these are quite good. So it's not like I can discard most of them because they would not be of a good level or anything like that. They are often very good. They are often already on the topic of the Rainy Days even, or they would fit, but then because of the size, or that we already have 3 string quartets, or I don't know, it gets too expensive, or all of that. Often expensive and time is the things where we then have to draw a line. Otherwise I would very gladly program 3 months of Rainy Days. It would not be a problem actually. Maybe one day. But for the moment, I make do with 4 days that are really, really full of fun stuff. But yeah, so it's really nice because sometimes people say, "Oh, should I send it to you?" But you already get so much. Maybe I don't send it, but actually just send it, because it's always good if I know about these things anyway, and maybe it fits. And in the program, there are always a few things that have just landed in my inbox and that I would not have known about if they had not been just sent to me cold like that, and then initiated a conversation and an interest and a discussion and all of that. And that would also be a shame, because I don't want to just program the things I know already. That's a bit short-sighted.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
We talked about what is happening like in the foyer. We had the big concert hall. We had the black box where I'm doing also embodiment with
Yes.
Lia Muir and Michael Weilacher.
Yes.
And there's also this amazing chamber hall. What's happening
Yes.
there?
Oh, there's a wonderful salle de musique de chambre. That's probably my favorite room in terms of acoustics. It has just such a nice acoustic for things that are very quiet. You hear them so well. They got that one really right. Well done, architects, because usually, they get things wrong in concert halls, but they got this one really, really right. Yes, we have all sorts of things in the salle de musique de chambre. We have Louisa Marxen also. She's a Luxembourg percussionist. I think you might do a podcast with her potentially. We have the Scratch Orchestra. We have the Noise Watchers. There's also a Luxembourg, a collective kind of, and they do things with 3 saxophones this year, and some body painting, and some electronic music. It suits a lot of acoustic things. The String Quartet, Ligeti Quartet are playing there. Exaudi and Explore are playing a new Catherine Lamb piece there, which is going to sound really wondrous. And Exaudi are singing there as well on the first day. They do a new piece also, a commission for Aaron Einbond. So that will also be a new piece. All sorts. So it lends itself to that sort of wonderful acoustic events. And then the black box is often more the theatrical shows, or the ones that are multimedia. They work very well there because it's a space you can control very well, with lights, with screens, with all sorts of things. So, And then in the foyer, this year, we built a space to perform, which is new as well, because we have a few events that work well, actually, if people are seated also in the foyer. And one of them wanted the audience to be all around. They are solo voices and Maurice quartets. They do something together. And they wanted a surround audience. And so we built it like that and leave it for the festival. So there is a sort of, we call it the super space. So it's another performance space in the foyer as well. And then I can't wait. They are building a new hall still at the Philharmonie, which will be finished in 27. Another sort of black box type space, which... I can't wait for another one to be added. Not necessarily to program more, but to have a bit more time for the other events, leave a bit more air in between, because the times to get in and out are really quite short. It's sort of festival spirit, and everyone has to put a little water in their wine, but make it work. And it would be nice to have a little bit more time. It's time again. If only we could buy more time, in general.
Time is so... Mm-hmm.
If we don't sleep at all anymore.
No, I love sleeping too.
No, I don't. I don't actually sleep. I don't like it, but I somehow have to, and I'm always a bit upset about it. I think it's a flaw in the human, the way we're built, that we have to sleep. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't? We would have twice as much life.
That is also true.
Yeah.
But I guess we need the regeneration, and I also like dreaming. But
that's true. But couldn't we also regenerate while doing something else? That we would just have to evolve like that. I'm trying.
Interesting idea. So you're going to write a 24-hour piece instead of a 12-hour piece.
Well, Rosie, oh dear.
And you mentioned the black hole, or no, the black box thing. That's the one with the for light and movies and more theatrical stuff. And that's where I'm gonna do embodiment with Liam
Exactly.
Weir
So
and Michael
what is
Weilacher.
that going to be? Yeah, can you talk a bit about that one? Because I want to know what it will be like.
Brief things, because I actually recorded a separate podcast with Lear, and we talk in depth about it, and it's also a very exciting process for us. But it's gonna be a film which will be screened there, and in the film there is Michael Weilacher, who also plays percussion, and he also has a great stage presence, and we also have been working for quite a while. And I'm on the screen, and I had to prepare and be on screen and sing or whatever. And then I'm the one who is also performing live to the film. Michael is just the kind of artificial one in the film, and I'm there live. And if you would like to know more about this, there is this interview with Liam Weir, and we talk about how everything got to this point, and also how thankful we are to you and the Philharmonie that we get to do this piece, because it's like it was our next step of our collaboration. It really, everything
that's wonderful.
Led up to this. Like you mentioned, sometimes some pieces are in a way very important. And for us, this is also very important, because, I mean, we have been working now together for over 10 years. And listen to the podcast, because it's really this.
I will. Wonderful. But it is, just to mention it here, it is for solo voice then. It's just you singing and electronics.
Right.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And the percussion.
And the percussion. Yes. Yeah.
He plays marimba and drums, and he's amazing too. So I'm very thankful for this interview, and I have one more last question for you to maybe round it up. And I thank you so much, and all to the listeners. And please come to Rainy Days. You find all the information on your website. And maybe to finish up, what are you thankful for today?
That's interesting. Well, I'm really thankful for like the life I have, actually. This makes me really emotional. That's really sweet. I really like what I do, and with the people I do it.
And I'm thankful to talking to you again. And so I thank you very, very much for this great conversation. And I wish you a very happy Sunday.
Thank you.
This was the interview from today. I hope that it inspired you. And please send me your emails, send me your feedback, because I love to interact with you. Thank you very much that you tuned in with me today. I really, really hope that you liked it. And please tell your friends and colleagues about this podcast. I thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Live your music, live your life, and see you next time. Yours, Irene.